Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the return of podcasting here at Maitland Presbyterian Church. A special thanks to Antoine Hart, our communication manager, for getting us
making us do this.
Yeah, we've been away forever.
Yeah. When we last do this? It's been at least a year.
I don't know. So we had a podcast, Everything Jesus Taught.
And then we did Questionable Pastors.
Yeah, and then we did Questionable Pastors.
Oh, what it was. And then we were doing all this stuff from home for during pandemic lockdown.
Right.
And I got so sick and tired of hearing or seeing myself in any recorded media that I just couldn't anymore.
Yeah, like the Zoom calls and that little box where you like hide it, but it's you. And
when we were doing the stuff on Facebook Live, which was awesome, but I just eventually.
Too much.
Yeah, so now we're back, and it's no longer the Megan and Dave podcast.
That's right.
It is the Maitland Pres podcast.
Yes.
And we're calling this Church Chat.
Church Chat.
Church Chat. So this will be on the our regular podcast feed.
Right.
That also includes our sermons.
Yeah, so like every other podcast, if we do it every week, which we're going to this time.
Oh, totally.
But every other podcast will be the sermon from the previous Sunday, and then the others will be Church Chat.
Church Chat.
Church Chat. And what is Church Chat? Talk more about that.
Well, Church Chat is exactly that. Church Chat. Well, when I'm excited, we're here in my office, which I really love my office. And you might hear preschoolers screaming outside.
Yes.
Or leaf blowers or trains.
Trains go by a lot.
Or preschoolers in the hallway.
Right.
Or preschoolers might break into the office and take this place over.
Yes. So it keeps it real. Like the church during the week is always really loud.
Yeah.
Like our window looks directly out onto the playground, both of our offices. So we hear all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So if our toddlers are having a really hard day, you also will hear that on the podcast.
Yeah. And you'll learn to tune it out just like we do.
That's right. I don't even hear it anymore.
No.
Like if people are in my office, I don't even know.
But Antoine says the mics don't pick up some of that stuff. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah. But Church Chat. So we want this to not just be me and you.
Right.
But we'd love to have church people, non-church people, which sums up everyone in the world.
Yeah, we're going to have guests.
Guests. We're going to have
we will have
we
guests.
have more inputs on my little soundboard here. So we could have 4 people on our little church chat.
So some weeks it'll be theology, some weeks will be Bible, some weeks will be top 10 dishes of the church potluck, things that are going on in the life of the church, a little bit of everything. So if you're like, what goes on at Maitland Presbyterian Church? This is the podcast for you.
Yeah, or if the tens of people who will listen to this have any suggestions for things you want to hear us talk about.
We would be happy to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll talk about this week a little bit of the church just to get us started. And maybe by next week, we'll have a guest.
Bold.
It's bold. We're gonna put it out there.
Well, we'll grab someone out in the hall.
A preschooler.
Yeah. I like church. That was my preschooler impression.
That was good.
Thanks.
That was really good. We actually went to preschool here, for those of you that don't know us as well.
Who haven't heard us say that.
What?
Who haven't heard us talk about going to preschool
talk about
here.
that. We actually both went to preschool here. And we're pretty sure that the chair of the nominating committee who hired us, that her daughter was in your preschool class.
Yeah, Tracy Chiraco was we were in preschool together.
So like the chair of the nominating committee who hired us, who like recommended to the congregation to hire us, may have met you when you were like 3.
Yeah. Yeah, We'll get into more preschool stories at another day because I've got some good ones.
Okay, so you want to talk about
I don't want to use
week.
them up all. I don't want to use all of them up on the first episode.
Fair. We do have a lot of preschool stories from here. All right, so we'll switch gears. What we did this week. This past Sunday, we were really excited to invite Eric Gray to come preach. Eric is the director of the Christian Service Center, which works with the unhoused and people experiencing homelessness, especially in Orlando, and they have a couple other sites as well. But he's fantastic. Like, if you haven't seen what the Christian Service Center does or heard about Eric Gray, you should go, stop listening to us, go find something he's done.
Well, you can just listen to this on the way because it's, easy.
That's true. Or if you want to listen to this past week's sermon podcast, it would be him.
Oh, yeah. He did an amazing job. He said that was his first sermon, which I could not believe.
Yeah, he said usually he gets invited to do a minute for mission in the church.
Thank people from our food drive, but...
Yeah, so he preached a whole sermon about homelessness, and he had 3 takeaways. Do you remember?
Yeah. There were 3.
There were 3.
The first one was to... he put them at the end, right? So you had a lot of build up to them.
There were a few great ones, but one of the things I liked, he talked about volunteering consistently.
Yeah.
if you're going to volunteer with his program, with any program, it's better to volunteer once a year than to like volunteer for a whole day and then never show up again.
Yeah,
Like
because it's that consistent relationship that helps you, I think, as a person, stay like, flexible and growing and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's one big thing I took away. He said to subscribe to the Orlando Sentinel, so we also will tell you, dear listener singular,
Yeah.
to subscribe to the Orlando Sentinel.
Which, I think we should get a subscription at the church. I wonder how it, like, it'd be cool
That'd
to
be
have,
cool.
like, the paper every day in one of the rooms. People come in and read the paper
You
together.
could like sit on your couch in your
coffee.
office and read the paper.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, no, the Orlando Sentinel is really important as a local news media, and he talked about the importance of local news and holding our leaders accountable.
Yeah, and that once it's gone forever, and no one else will ever step in to fill that gap if it
Right.
goes away.
Now we pause here for a moment because our preschoolers are having a hard time
Yeah.
on the playground.
Yeah, it's
bless
tough.
them.
It's
It
tough
is.
to be a preschooler.
It is tough. You have no money.
Mm-hmm.
You have no transportation.
Yeah,
It's just hard. It's hard all the way
it
around.
is. It really is. But it's easier here at Maitland Presbyterian Preschool.
That's true because it's great.
And then
back
his
to Eric.
his third point was just to get your news from varied sources. That if you're getting
Yeah.
everything from one source, you're not getting an accurate picture of the world. And especially, I think his big point about homelessness was that it's a housing problem, not a mental health problem, not an addiction problem. That it's just because in the cities with the worst homeless problems they have the highest costs for housing. And I think right here
Right.
in Orlando, we're gonna be worse than LA at some point because we have the lowest wages and a one-bedroom apartment costs $1,800 a month.
Right. So low wages and then expensive housing and not enough affordable housing can lead to just an explosion of the homeless population in your community.
You know what we should have done? We should
What?
have just listened to his sermon and like talked about it,
Just been like pause, let's listen.
Yeah.
We will have to do that. It was awesome.
I don't want to do that for our sermons though, because that would be awkward.
No, that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But he was great.
But definitely listen to Eric's sermon.
Yeah, he
That
was
was
great.
awesome.
And then after church, we did a little service project together. One of our members, Cheryl Anderson, runs Compassion Corner, which is on the property at the Christian Service Center, and they work with the homeless population here in Central Florida too.
What's that? It has a category for what they do.
Oh, it's like not like a front entrance or a
Like a
welcome mat,
like a
or
welcome
something.
center or
yeah,
something,
it's like
right?
a welcome center. So meaning they primarily welcome in the homelessness and do like initial
do, like,
evaluation of
coffee
what they
and
might
food
need. Coffee,
and
food,
the
Bible
social
study.
worker.
Yeah, there's a social worker.
We've spoken to them a couple times, and
Yes.
they're a very engaged audience.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
So the bags we made were for people who are sleeping on the street at night. So it had like bug spray and flashlights and ponchos, and
Yeah.
not because we want people to stay on the street, but as a way to help them until they can or would like to come inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that was the other thing he said about that homelessness is like a nuclear meltdown. That
Yeah.
it's and we're just spoiling the sermon for anyone who hasn't,
And we're doing it much poorer than he did. So
Yeah,
go
he did
watch the
great.
sermon.
yeah. That it's when everything goes wrong and you don't have any
Right.
support, or choose not to use the support that you have.
Yeah, it's not that one thing went wrong. It's 13 things went wrong.
Yeah.
Not just that you lost your job, but that a bunch of stuff happened
Yeah.
that leads to losing your housing.
Yeah.
So it was great.
It was.
that was
nice
Eric
to have
on
him.
Sunday.
And we had that, and because it was Eric coming in, we wanted everyone to hear it once. We had a one service Sunday, right?
Yeah, we did.
And the sanctuary was full except for the first 3 pews, which apparently you cannot touch.
It's especially the first 3 pews on the side where Dave and I sit, which makes it a little more personal feeling.
Like, do I smell?
Like sometimes they sit farther up on the right side, but we always sit on the left side, and you look behind us and it's like 3 or 4 empty rows and then everybody.
But on like a normal Sunday, Jim and Marvell are always right behind us.
They are, but they weren't here this week.
Yeah.
That helps. Jim and Marvell sit close.
Oh, good old Marvell.
I know. We love her.
She's
She's
the
one of
best.
our like saints of the church.
Is she our oldest member now?
She might be, but I don't know that we want to like
She's
talk
proud
about
of it, and
people's
she
ages.
bowls.
Yeah.
She bowls every week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right?
I hope I'm bowling. Well, I'm not bowling now, so I don't know why I'd be bowling.
Take
but I'm-
up bowling at 90.
I've never done this before. Let me start now.
Yeah.
I hope I'm very active,
Me too.
into my later years,
Absolutely.
because I feel like already it's like, oh, my knee hurts.
Hold on. So what we're the ones? Yeah. So one service that
One
was
service.
nice,
Yeah.
and people hung out after, and
They did. They got to talk to Eric, and he recommended a book.
Oh, it was called Homelessness is a Housing.
Homelessness is a housing problem. Yeah, so they were talking to him about that too.
Yeah.
And that was Sunday. Wednesday was also great.
What we do on... Oh, that was yesterday. Yesterday was Ash Wednesday.
Yesterday was Ash Wednesday.
That was great. So every year for the past, what, like 4 years now?
Yeah, because we started it the year before COVID, and we're 3 years kind of into that chaos. Yeah.
So we just hang out on the front porch of the church all day from 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And have people drive up or, drive, park, and get out. And we do an outside, come whenever you want, Ash Wednesday service.
Yeah.
And we had 80 people this year.
We did.
Yeah. And it was awesome.
It is really great, and we like it. We get to be outside all day, which we like. But we get to pray with people. So when we do the ashes, I love that part when we get to.
Yeah, what was like the best experience you had yesterday?
I mean, a lot of these were like personal things people were sharing,
right.
But it's powerful to have. It sounds weird to be like we don't get to pray with people a lot. We pray in church and we pray with people privately, in a counseling session in our office. But to pray with 80 different people in one day, because we always say after we do the ashes, how can we be praying for you?
And it always like catches. Sometimes if they don't know it's coming, it like catches people off guard.
Yeah. And so sometimes people, some people are like, I'm good, but the majority of people share really honest and open stories from their lives.
Yeah.
And that's something we take really seriously, that someone who's never met us, because we do ashes for a lot of people we've never met, and they like really get to share openly their story, and then our members too, and to get to pray together. And yeah, and
we pray right then. It's really a special day.
It is a special day.
I was exhausted. I think we went to bed at 8:30 last night though.
We did. I got text messages from people at like 8:30, 8:45, and I was already asleep. So this morning I had to be like, I was sleeping at 8:30.
Just all that fresh air all day. I was just, that's too much. I am an inside cat.
Well, you are an inside cat. They say there's like different kinds of tired, like physical, emotional, spiritual, social, whatever. Yeah, and we were like all the tireds last night.
Especially socially tired. That's a lot of compassion. And if you don't know me, that's not my first language. I do love people, but smaller doses. So that was
a lot of peopling for you.
Yeah, but it was awesome. I loved all my different interactions I got to have with people, and people going through a lot of stuff.
They are.
And it's great to be able to. That's why I love Ash Wednesday, because it's like, the words we say are just a ancient version of "you gonna die."
You're gonna die.
And so we tell everyone, "You gonna die," and they're like, "Yep, I'm gonna die." And then we talk about what really matters, because in that light.
That's why I love it. I love that too. It's the one day I read somewhere, Ash Wednesday is the one day that we're honest, and that the church especially is really honest about things that nowhere else in our lives are we honest about. That we're all going to die someday, and that we're all sinners. Yeah. And we spend all the rest of our time trying to like cheat death and pretend that we have it all together and we're perfect. And on Ash Wednesday, we like put this cross on our forehead and are publicly like, I totally understand that I'm just one step closer to dying today than I was yesterday, and that I'm a total mess. But I also love it because we should be like smiling when we walk around with the cross on our head, because what we know because of who Jesus is that we're forgiven and we're promised eternal life, and that it's those things are not like they're not the final word in our lives.
Absolutely. That's really well said.
So this year we had found a new liturgy too, where when people take the cross off their forehead, they can wash it off. And remember their baptism, which I thought that was cool. Although that was something, so in church a lot of the times we say remember your baptism, and it's a pastor way to say remember that you were baptized, that you've been like claimed by God. Yeah. But we baptize infants a lot in the Presbyterian church, most of the baptism. So I said that a few times. Did you get that too? I'd be like, remember your baptism, and people were like, I can't remember my baptism. I was a baby. And I'm like, oh, right, of course.
Yeah, but I think saying remember that you were baptized isn't as poetic as
it's not.
Remember your baptism.
But it caught like several people when I would say like, so when you wash it off tonight, remember your baptism. So it kind of made me feel like we should change the wording, because it's kind of like when Presbyterians say I was at table.
Oh my gosh, don't get us started on at table.
Yeah, don't say at table. You were at the table.
Let's just have a minute. If any of our Presbyterian colleagues, our clergy colleagues are listening. Hi, Jody.
I don't think Jody says at table.
Well, I mean, he's the only person who listens to us.
Oh, he's the only one of our colleagues that will be listening, right? Maybe.
But where did at table come from?
I don't know. So we should explain, if you're not, probably don't run in circles that we run in, which is mostly...
You mean super cool people who wear cool clothes on
Sunday?
A lot
of people who work in Presbyterian churches, but the table is the communion table. And so when we say at the table, we're talking about being at the table in the church,
But
like the communion table.
a lot of people say
At table.
when Jesus was at table.
No, he wasn't at table. He was at the table.
Or at a table. Or, you
Right.
know.
At that table.
Why does at table...
I don't know.
It's like, it's like when you're learning, doing language on Duolingo. And it's like, hold on, why does that word need a the, but other
Yes.
words don't need a the?
Yeah.
So I just, I just like to put, I think we'd both like to put our little stamp of approval on, let's not say at table
Let's not
anymore.
say at
Let's
table.
say at the table.
How's your Duolingo going?
I'm 187 days. I streak. I had to use a
Nice.
streak freeze this week. How's
Ooh,
yours?
Yeah. I have used streak phrases. I have not this week. I've done it every day.
What's your number?
I think 196.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm never going to catch up because I don't want to catch up because that would mean you would down to 0 for me to
Right.
catch up.
Right. That would break my heart.
That would.
Like that would be a real year ruiner, really.
Yeah. Right? That would be
Yeah.
a real loss.
So Dave's doing French and I'm doing Spanish.
We.
But I feel like at this point my conversations are pretty limited, even 196 days
I
in.
feel so smart doing Duolingo.
Yeah.
And then I hear someone actually speaking French and I'm like, I don't know anything.
Yeah. Same.
Could you slow down and talk about how the table is green?
Yeah. The table.
That's right.
No, I had an opportunity to talk to one of our partners in Nicaragua this week, and she was speaking in Spanish, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this, but I realized just how limited my Spanish is, that I was basically able to be
I mean, you held
how
your own
are
pretty
your
well.
sons? They are good? Great. Like, that was pretty much all I had.
You did pretty well.
Oh, well, thanks. It was, speaking of tiring, like, it's tiring, though, to get your brain to do that. It gives
Yeah.
you, like, a real sympathy for people who immigrate here and know English, but how exhausting it is day to day to be living in a culture where your language is not the first language that you speak.
That's rough.
Yeah,
That's rough.
super rough.
Yeah.
So we had Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of Lent.
Yes. Why don't you talk about what Lent is, in case someone is like, what's Lent?
Oh, you kind of put me on the spot here. I should have prepared more. I mean, it's just the season leading up to Holy Week.
Right.
I don't know what Lent means
I don't either.
as much, but yeah. So the 40 days, not including Sundays, leading up to Easter,
Right.
when it's kind of like a really old tradition, like a liturgical tradition, like kind of Catholic-y, that we Protestants have kind of been like, yeah, we're gonna do that too.
Yeah. And we don't do Sundays, in case you're new to Lent. Lent is not included in the 40 days because those are like mini Easters, they call them. Like on
Yes.
Sundays, we remember that Jesus rose from the dead. So we don't like prepare for Easter or grieve on Sunday about Jesus' death because
But we Presbyterians don't do much grieving, period.
no, we're kind of a positive people.
Yeah, we want. Yeah, like that sounds sad.
So you can, if you're doing Lent though, and we do, like you'll see there's purple in our sanctuary this week because that's the color for seasons of preparation, which Advent and Lent are our two big ones. But it is a time some people give something up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our only thing, probably word of caution, is if you're giving up something because you want to give it up to lose weight, that's not a Lenten discipline. That's a health discipline, which is good, but maybe don't give up like sugar because you want to lose weight and then be like, oh, I'm being really spiritual. Like,
But what if it's something like, okay, so for instance, my thing I'm giving up for Lent is something that I originally gave up for a New Year's resolution,
okay,
but I didn't do so good with it. So I'm like, well, Lent, I'm gonna give another shot.
it's your
so
Lenten one. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is eliminating shopping as a hobby,
Okay.
and I already broke it a lot for New Year's, and I actually already broke
He
it.
says in February.
Oh no! And I realized it yesterday. I woke up. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get back on this. And then yesterday and today, I had to make 2 purchases online for work and for home. But I'm like, I can't even do that. But I think it's annoying if someone's like resolution or their Lenten discipline like inconveniences other people. They're like,
I didn't know that you were doing it for Lent. Okay, so this morning I asked him to buy ant poison
Ant traps.
on ant traps on Amazon because some tiny sugar ants have found their way from our attic into our pantry, which we've only seen like 20 ants so far, but experience tells me
Yeah.
that if we don't deal with it in the next 24 hours, there'll be thousands of ants in our pantry.
And I honestly
but I didn't know you had given up shopping. I would have asked you.
Well, thank you. But
You're welcome.
But I had already decided, like, I'm not going to make this an inconvenience on you.
Okay.
And I'm not going to, and like, I had a TV for work came in broken, so I had to order another one. I'm like, that doesn't count. And it's
Right.
not shopping as a hobby. But then where it got me though is like, well, it'd be great if it could be same day delivery. So I'm like, well, I need to buy some more stuff to get the same day delivery, and it wasn't quite adding up. So now I'm like, I mean,
That
and
makes
it was,
sense because I felt like some stress in our home this morning when I was
Yes.
like, I thought it would just be a quick thing. Like I was making our son's lunch. He was like, what can I do? And I was like, oh, could you order ant traps? And then it was like, well, I have to get up to the free shipping, and it seemed stressful. So that makes more sense.
it was. Because I wanted it to not be something that I wanted,
Okay, that all makes sense now.
but I wanted it to be something we needed and not something, yeah, anyway.
So I think what I would take away from this for you, dear listener, in your relationships is if you're making a Lenten discipline of giving something up, tell the people who live in your home
Don't keep it a secret.
because it's very hard for us to support you in your Lenten disciplines if we don't know.
That's a really good point. I think another good point about Lenten disciplines is if you screw up on day one, guess what? You get to try again tomorrow. Like it's
I
not
like
it's
that.
not about
It's not all
being
or nothing.
perfect.
Right.
That's all, Lent and all of Christianity is about.
Right.
You're not perfect. You actually are so far from perfect that some really big things had to happen to,
Yeah.
to set you on the right path.
Oh, I love that because we can like make an idol out of anything, right? And so be like, I'm going to do this thing perfectly during Lent, and then we screw it up, and we're like, well, forget it.
Yeah,
It's
well,
over.
bring on the ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy all the things.
Yes. Like just keep trying.
Yeah,
That's all that matters.
absolutely.
Oh, I like that a lot. So Lent, is the
So
period.
how about you?
leading up
Is
to
there anything
Easter.
you're giving up
I
for
haven't
Lent?
decided yet, which I need to because today's the first day of Lent, so the clock's ticking. And some people give things up, and then other people add things in. Thanks. Yeah. Other people add things in. And so that's something else you can do. You could say, I'm not going to give something up, but I'm going to volunteer, or like some people in our church, with including us, are reading the Bible in 1 year.
Yes. It's so hard.
Tell us how you're feeling about our Bible in a year
Oh
program.
my gosh, why do they have to put all the worst books at the beginning?
The Torah, you mean? Careful. Easy.
It's just so it was great just the past few weeks, and I got behind a couple days, so like
That'll get to
doing
you.
2 days worth of readings,
If you
especially
get behind
at
in
night.
Leviticus, like it's really hard to catch up.
Leviticus was actually surprisingly better than I thought it was going to
Really?
be. It was, and because I thought that I liked Deuteronomy better, and there is a lot more like really good like memorization stuff in Deuteronomy, but there's also a lot of like surprise, it's Leviticus in Deuteronomy,
Okay.
and that really, and then the last of it with Moses's farewell diss track against
His
Israel.
song is really long.
It's yeah, and I think we always do it at night, and it's a great way to get to sleep. But I'm really looking forward to getting to the stuff that's like, and
Yeah.
now we're in Joshua, which is like,
a bloodbath.
yeah. We're like, oh, this is where we justified colonialism with.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
but there's still good stuff.
Yeah, Old Testament gets to be
It's
a
a little
lot.
dark,
Gets a little dark.
but
But we do have, I think there's probably 30 people in the church who are reading the Bible in a year with us, which is
yes.
really cool.
It is cool.
So we do a little Bible study on Wednesdays, and like this week, there's a name that came up in the reading that they were referring to as a person, and we were like, wait, who is this person? Where'd they come from? And we learned together that was referring to Israel.
Oh, the thing in Moses' diss track,
Yeah, in Moses' diss track where he's talking to, it's like
Jeshurun.
yeah. Turns out that's Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Which we couldn't decide if that was like a real name or if they made it up because
yeah,
it rhymed.
it rhymed,
in the
yeah.
Hebrew. It's like, what rhymes with Jeshurun? Jeshurun.
Yeah. Oh man.
But it's been good. It's been good
It
to
has
read
been.
through it.
Yeah. What have you really taken away from doing it every day?
I think it's been a really long time since I spent substantial time, especially in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Like we preach from Genesis and Exodus, and then you kind of like scoot over a few into prophets. So it's been a long time since I've been in those books, really much at all. And I think like when you have to read through them slowly like that, it sets up what's happened. Like everything just sets up what's going to happen next in such a powerful way.
Yeah.
And that's been really good. Like when we're reading about Joshua and, about to take the people into the promised land and everything that's going to mean. But when you've been reading forever about him stepping into Moses and Aaron's role, and I mean, just when you realize like
Yes.
whose shoes he's filling and how long they've been waiting for this moment and what lies ahead of him and how dangerous what he's about to do is. And then God says, do not be afraid. Like, it just carries so much more weight than when I've read that verse a million times out of context.
Right.
But reading it in the context where you feel like you've been like reading the Levitical law and then the wandering and all of it. Or we had an interesting conversation about tattoos too, related to some of this reading this week.
Yeah. That was going. But I want to say with the Joshua thing, I really resonate with that because it is like watching, a sequel without having seen the first movie. If you just try and jump right into Joshua, so I'm taking a lot more out of it, even though I'm admittedly excited about getting past it. But it is much better. I totally agree.
Yeah. It's like when I tried to watch the Top Gun sequel and I admittedly had not seen Top Gun. And so I could tell it was like a million winks back to the original Top Gun, but I was not in on the inside jokes. So it was just like, okay, they're just flying around and then it's over.
I don't see how that movie got nominated for Best Picture. Like they did some really cool technical things.
Right.
But it's not good.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. I wasn't crazy about that movie.
Like, amazing, beautiful. Like, the things they did, because, that was the whole reason they made it. But it kind of ticks me off when people, like Hollywood people, make these movies because they want to do something technical.
Right.
And they totally neglect, like, the most important thing, which is the cheapest thing, which is the script.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we're not impressed.
But you talked about you brought up our discussion about prohibitions against tattoos.
We're all over the place. Yeah. That part was interesting. There's stuff like that you hear that some people say like it's wrong to get a tattoo, and it's probably somewhere in like the Levitical laws or the Old Testament or Deuteronomy. And this time we were digging in and we learned together that some of that might have been there was some like branding or tattooing of this when they were enslaved in Egypt. That was how they marked you as property of the Pharaoh, essentially. So now that they've been freed by God out of slavery in Egypt, if they were to voluntarily give themselves a tattoo, that would kind of, like, I don't know, diminish what
put
God
them in
had
that
done.
same slave mentality, which Moses was trying to, and God was trying to break them of.
Right.
But they never quite got there.
Yeah, so that might be less applicable in our current world. So basically, if you want to get a tattoo, I think it's fine. That's what I took away from it.
Although getting a tattoo is no longer as rebellious as it used to be, because so many people have tattoos. Be like, I'm rebelling because I don't have any tattoos.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird to not have a tattoo.
What tattoo would you get?
I don't know. I think that's the big thing keeping me from getting it. I clearly put some thought into this. I don't know. Like, I would actually think it'd be fun to have a tattoo, but I don't know what I get.
For a while, I was talking about getting every dog I've ever had, like their portrait tattooed in like kind of like a, some kind of cool sleeve thing on my arm. But then I realized, like, I don't like my dogs. I love the dogs from the past, but Stella is not going on my arm.
I remember that day because Stella had been particularly terrible. I think it was the day she pooped all over the house. She ate something that made her sick, and we left for work and we came home. Well, Dave came home by himself. Oh yeah. And there was poop everywhere, but there's always a good thing. Tell him what happened.
So came home, big pile in the kitchen. But luckily, we have a Roomba.
Yes.
And the Roomba was elsewhere in the house. So the Roomba had already run.
Yes.
And then she made a mess in the kitchen.
But like,
that would have been...
If the timing had been different by 30 minutes,
house down.
The Roomba would have run through it and then run all over the house.
But that is one of the times that I hated the dog. But actually, no, it was before.
You decided before then against the dog sleeve?
I was like, I don't want this dog on my arm. I love her, but I hate her as much as I love her.
Stella was our pandemic puppy.
Yeah.
So we got her in a moment of confusion early in lockdown.
Well, this kind of went off the rails.
Yeah. So that was Church Chat for this week. This is why we'll have guests.
So yes, we will have guests. If you'd like to come on Church Chat, let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to do it.
Yeah, so our contacts are come up and talk to us at church.
Yeah, get in touch with us. We'd love to have you on Church Chat. Thanks for listening to our first podcast back, the Maitland Presbyterian Church podcast. We'll see you later.
Okay.